Today, we unravel the ongoing crisis unfolding in the Israel-Gaza stretch, tracing its roots back to the historical Balfour Declaration as we bring you up to speed on the recent escalations. The trigger. On October 7th, an unprecedented assault was launched by Hamas on Israel, witnessing hundreds of gunmen infiltrating communities near the Gaza Strip. The assault resulted in over 1,400 Israeli casualties and an additional 230 individuals, including civilians, being taken hostage to Gaza. The retaliation. In retaliation, Israel's military responded with air and artillery strikes on Gaza, leading to a devastating toll of over 8,000 Palestinian casualties. As Israeli troops amass along the Gaza boundary, the residents brace for a potential major ground operation, intensifying the fear and uncertainty that looms over the region. The humanitarian crisis. The siege has seen a cutoff in electricity, water, and halted imports of essential supplies like food and medicine into Gaza. Although aid has trickled in through Egypt's Rafah crossing, the situation remains dire. Historical backdrop. Tracing back to the roots, the tension between Israel and Palestine spiraled post-World War I, when Britain took control over Palestine post the fall of the Ottoman Empire. The Balfour Declaration of 1917 played a pivotal role, promising the establishment of a national home for Jewish people in Palestine, a move opposed by the Arab majority residing there. The Balfour Declaration. The Balfour Declaration, penned by then Foreign Secretary Arthur Balfour, was later endorsed by the League of Nations in 1922, stirring tensions between the Jewish and Arab communities over the rightful claim to the land. The birth of Israel. The influx of Jewish immigrants into Palestine grew significantly between the 1920s and 1940s, driven largely by the persecution faced in Europe, culminating in the Nazi Holocaust during World War II. This period also saw a surge in violence between Jews and Arabs and against British rule. In 1947, a UN resolution proposed the partition of Palestine into separate Jewish and Arab states, with Jerusalem envisioned as an international city. Although accepted by Jewish leaders, the Arab side rejected this plan, leaving it unimplemented. Come 1948, amid escalating tensions and the incapacity to find a resolution, Britain withdrew from the region. Following this, Jewish leaders declared the establishment of the State of Israel, aiming to create a refuge for Jews fleeing persecution and a national homeland. The onset of conflict. The declaration of statehood triggered immediate military response from 5 Arab nations. A period of intense fighting ensued, leading to a significant displacement of Palestinians, who refer to this exodus as al-Nakba, or the catastrophe. By the time a ceasefire was brokered the following year, Israel had gained control over most of the territory, with Jordan occupying what became known as the West Bank, and Egypt occupying Gaza. The Jerusalem dilemma. Jerusalem became a city divided, with Israeli forces controlling the west and Jordanian forces the east. The absence of a peace agreement fueled further wars and skirmishes over the decades. Notably, during the 1967 war, Israel occupied East Jerusalem and the West Bank, alongside other territories. The settlement issue. Over the past 50 years, Israel has established settlements in the West Bank and East Jerusalem, housing over 700,000 Jews. Despite being deemed illegal under international law by entities like the UN Security Council and the UK government, Israel disputes this stance. The ongoing struggle. The plight of Palestinian refugees and their descendants, who reside mainly in Gaza, the West Bank, and neighboring countries, remains a critical issue. The contention over Jerusalem's status and the illegal settlements continues to be a major stumbling block for peace, with Israel claiming the entire city as its capital, while Palestinians envision East Jerusalem as the capital of a prospective Palestinian state. Understanding Gaza. The Gaza Strip, a narrow stretch of land lying between Israel and the Mediterranean Sea, with a short southern border with Egypt, is one of the most densely populated regions on Earth. Occupied by Egypt post the 1948-49 war, it came under Israeli control following the 1967 war until 2005, when Israel withdrew its forces yet retained control over its borders, airspace, and shoreline. The United Nations still deems Gaza as occupied by Israel. Core disagreements. The long-standing conflict between Israelis and Palestinians revolves around several pivotal issues. These include the rights of Palestinian refugees, the status of Jewish settlements in the West Bank, the sharing of Jerusalem, and the potential creation of a Palestinian state alongside Israel. Attempts at peace. Over the years, various attempts to foster peace between Israel and Palestine have been made. The Oslo peace process in the 1990s, symbolized by the historic handshake on the White House lawn, was a glimpse of hope, as Palestinians recognized the State of Israel and Israel acknowledged the Palestine Liberation Organization, PLO, as the representative of the Palestinian people. However, opposition from various factions, including then-opposition leader Benjamin Netanyahu and the emergence of militant group Hamas, disrupted the peace process. The assassination of Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin in 1995 by a Jewish extremist further soured the atmosphere. The stalled peace efforts. The early 2000s saw renewed efforts to rekindle peace, with a roadmap devised in 2003 aimed at a two-state solution. However, the peace talks came to a standstill in 2014. The most recent peace plan, dubbed the Deal of the Century by Prime Minister Netanyahu, was outright dismissed by the Palestinians as one-sided, highlighting the continuing discord and the elusive pursuit of a peaceful resolution. The current conflict. The root of the ongoing discord lies in the governance of Gaza by Hamas, an Islamist group committed to Israel's destruction and designated as a terrorist organization by numerous countries, including the UK. Following their electoral victory in 2006, Hamas seized control of Gaza in 2007, sidelining the Fatah movement of West Bank-based President Mahmoud Abbas. This led to several confrontations with Israel, who, along with Egypt, imposed a partial blockade on Gaza, aiming to curb attacks, notably the indiscriminate rocket fire towards Israeli cities. The Palestinians in Gaza view these measures and the airstrikes on densely populated regions as collective punishment. This year marked an unprecedented level of fatalities among Palestinians in the occupied West Bank and East Jerusalem, escalating tensions that likely contributed to Hamas's latest assault. However, it's also speculated that Hamas aimed to bolster its popularity among Palestinians, possibly using hostages to pressure Israel into releasing some of the estimated 4,500 Palestinians held in Israeli prisons. International stance. The international community remains divided in its stance on the conflict. The US, EU, and other Western nations have condemned Hamas's assault on Israel, with the US being a close ally, providing substantial military and economic aid to Israel. This aid, exceeding $260 billion over the years, is accompanied by the deployment of 2 aircraft carrier strike groups to the eastern Mediterranean, deterring potential threats like Lebanon's Hezbollah movement from escalating the conflict further. On the other hand, Russia and China abstain from condemning Hamas, maintaining contact with both sides. Russian President Vladimir Putin criticizes U.S. policy for the absence of peace in the region. Iran, an arch foe of Israel, stands as a key supporter of Hamas and Hezbollah, with questions arising about its role in the recent Hamas attack, though Tehran denies any involvement. The Israel-Gaza crisis is a convoluted narrative of historical grievances, political discord, and human tragedy. The recent escalations underscore the urgency for a global concerted effort towards a lasting peace. As we continue to unravel the complexities surrounding this issue, stay tuned for more comprehensive coverage. Thank you for joining us.